Somewhere along the way, many of us became excellent workers while losing sight of actually how to live. On my last week here in Mexico, I am sitting on the patio of a small one-bedroom that we rented, coffee in my hand, 8 floors above the Pacific Ocean. The waves roll below me while my laptop sits open next to me, waiting for another work call. And honestly, that image has stayed with me, because while this trip was supposed to be part vacation, part work trip, it forced me to confront something that many driven people, quietly struggle with. We become so focused on building our career that we forget to build a life we actually want to live. Over the past few weeks, I have written articles while sitting beside the ocean, walking through unfamiliar streets and trying to slow down and actually enjoy what I have while I'm here. In many ways, these weeks were refreshing. They gave me space to think, breathe, and reset. But they also exposed me to something deeper that I don't think we talk about enough. Many of us have accepted the version of life where work always comes first. Not because somebody directly told us that, but because over time we slowly built our identity around productivity, responsibility, and achievement. Somewhere along the way, because busy became proof that we mattered. And if I'm being honest, I've done this for many years. That busyness makes us feel like we're needed. I've spent a large part of my life being dependable, driven, available, and committed to doing a job well. There is pride in that. There is purpose in that. But sitting above the Pacific Ocean these past few weeks made me ask myself a difficult question. What is all this hard work actually for if we never give ourselves permissions to fully live it? That question hit differently when you are physically away from your normal environment. The routine gets interrupted, the distractions slow down, you finally have enough distance to see your own life more clearly. What surprised me most is how difficult it still is to disconnect. Even while on this trip, I still found myself pulled back into meetings, calls, and responsibilities. I had communicated clearly when I was available and when I was not, yet the lines still get blurred. Important calls appeared, messages came through, expectations still remained. And the truth is, many professionals know exactly what this feels like. We hear companies consistently talk about work-life balance, but I'm no longer sure that most organizations truly understand what that means. Too often, work-life balance simply means you are allowed to have personal time as long as work never is inconvenienced by it. That is not balance, that is conditional freedom. I see this tension everywhere now, especially with remote work. Companies say they value flexibility, but many still quietly expect people to remain digitally connected at all times. Employees shut off Teams, emails, and other work phones during personal time, and suddenly frustration appears because they're not immediately reachable. The technology changed, the mindset did not. And honestly, this is bigger than remote work. It exposes how deeply many workplaces still measure commitment through visibility, responsiveness, and hours instead of outcomes. I have struggled with this myself for years. Like many salaried associates, I am technically measured on performance. I am trusted with responsibility, leadership, and results. But at the same time, I still have to formally request permission to step away from my work. And then that still doesn't guarantee it. I still feel the invisible pressure of availability. And here's the part that becomes frustrating for many high performers. In many workplaces, if you become efficient enough to finish your work in 30 hours, you're not rewarded with more time. You're rewarded with more responsibility. Efficiency rarely creates freedom. it usually just increases expectations. That realization focuses on uncomfortable questions. Are we actually building a life, or at simply becoming better at sustaining an endless cycle of work? Now, to be fair, I don't think this is entirely the fault of the companies. The uncomfortable truth I am realizing is that many driven people would recreate the same problem anywhere, even in freedom, even while working for themselves. I hear people tell me all the time, you just need to start your own business, and maybe there would be some truth to that, which I am. I am building the Genuine Mentor because I genuinely believe that the work I'm doing, that I enjoy creating, writing, mentoring, and building something meaningful. But I can also already see that the danger ahead of me is, if I'm not careful, is because driven people do not automatically slow down when they gain freedom, because they simply carry the same habits into a different environment. More goals, more projects, more pressure, more work disguised as passion. That is the part I think many ambitious people fall into and don't recognize. The real challenge is not escaping work. The real challenge is learning how to stop tying your entire identity to productivity. That is hard for people like me, and maybe hard for people like you too. Because when you've spent years building reliable, driven, and achievement-oriented growth, slowing down can feel irresponsible. Resting can feel uncomfortable. You begin to measure your value by how much you accomplish instead of how you fully live. And that mindset quietly follows you everywhere, even to the beach, even on vacation, even sitting 8 floors above the Pacific Ocean. As I sit here during this final week away, I know eventually I will return home and fall back into familiar routines. The emails will continue, the meetings will return, the responsibilities will still exist. But I also know something inside me has shifted. I don't want to spend my whole life waiting to live. I don't want to look back one day and realize I've become incredibly successful at work while becoming disconnected from the rest of my own life. And maybe this is a bigger lesson I'm taking home from this trip. Work matters, purpose matters, responsibility matters, but life cannot always exist somewhere after work finally slows down. At some point, we have to decide that living fully deserves space too. I hope this thought resonates with you and helps you think about your own situation. Definitely has made me think about mine. And hope you all have a great day, and thanks from the Genuine Mentor.